Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Brendan Ecker Influence. We're going live and we are looking at the markets and we're talking about Anthropic and how Anthropic essentially is being scorned right now because they allegedly stole software. So, welcome to the Brendan Ecker Influence. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. The markets are still dead today. The markets are still dead. Bitcoin's at $63,587.87. Ethereum's at $1,837. XRP's hanging around $1.33, and Dogecoin's at 9 cents. Cardano 25 cents. Stellar Lumens XLM 15 cents, and HBAR's at 9 cents. But there's big news in the market today, to say the very least. And again, our featured story is about Anthropic and how essentially their Claude was essentially stealing or has given their software to DeepSeek, which is a Chinese AI company who's been trying to essentially copy Claude. Okay, and they've succeeded, allegedly. But before we get into that, we're going to look into the markets and see how everything's doing. Again, the crypto market's looking pretty dry. Fear and greed index is even lower than it was yesterday. Now it's at 11. It was at 14 yesterday, so maybe it's getting a little. Maybe the market's switching up. But according to the markets right now, crypto's still in, it's got work to do. It's got a lot of work to do. Okay. So this is why you also need to be diversified, as I always say. Gold's at $5,157 right now. Silver's at $88. Platinum's at $2,184, and palladium is at $1,788. Futures are still looking good. And I think we have to look. There we go. Now we're able to look through the markets. So yeah, the markets are still looking pretty dry. A lot of bad news in the markets. Crypto's going down. But we're going to look at some of those stories, and we're going to look at why the market is acting the way that it is. Okay, so this is really the essential market today, February 24th, 2026. Okay, so now let's look at the gold markets. Again, gold markets are looking pretty dry. $5,157. Those are actually going up. The precious metals are looking good. $88 for silver, platinum $2,184, and palladium's at $1,788. And then for futures, when we're looking at everything today, this is kind of what the market's looking like here. Honestly, I don't know how anybody has money for futures. I mean, even the greatest investors today, the Dow Jones is just not looking so hot. The Dow Jones has lost a lot of money in the past in the past few days. So Pam Bondi's doesn't have too much to brag about, in my opinion, right? So again, I just wanted to look at some of the bigger stories on X. So let's look at Anthropic and things that are happening with that. So Mario Nawfal posted this just 1 hour ago. Anthropic published a blog post saying Claude can modernize COBOL code, and IBM instantly lost $31 billion in market cap. The post's legacy code modernization stalled for years because its understanding of legacy code cost more than rewriting it. AI flipped the equation. That's IBM's entire business model. COBOL runs banks, insurance companies, government systems. Written in the 60s to 70s, nobody knows it anymore. Rewriting it costs millions, so companies pay IBM billions to maintain it forever. Anthropic just said Claude can do it now. One blog post, $31 billion gone. This is what AI disruption actually looks like. And that's absolutely true. So AI is disrupting the markets. That is actively happening. And that is a real thing going on right now. Absolutely a real concern. So ultimately, we have to understand that with all of these things, nothing is going to be set in stone, right? The markets and Anthropic and all of this AI, this is what was going to happen inevitably. Inevitably, these things were going to happen. Inevitably, there was going to be shakeups in the market. There was going to be, competition, ultimately. So you can't blame the competitors. Ultimately, there's always going to be sharks in the sea looking for the next big deal. And that's exactly what China was doing. When we give them our tech and when, when we're willing to do that, then what do you think is going to happen? Okay, so again, let's look at some of these other videos. A lot of stories on X that have been covering this. Today, there's just a ton. So Anthropic, this was what they made 21 hours ago. We've identified industrial-scale distillation attacks on our models by DeepSeek, Moonshot AI, and Minimax. These labs created over 24,000 fraudulent accounts and generated over 16 million exchanges with Claude, extracting its capabilities to train and improve their own models. Anthropic is guilty, and then Elon Musk posted 18 hours ago. Anthropic is guilty of stealing training data at massive scale and has had to pay multi-billion dollar settlements for their theft. This is just a fact. Okay, so again, Anthropic's just getting cooked in the community notes and everything. So when they had placed this, of course, they had community notes get placed on this everywhere. Anthropic settled a $1.5 billion lawsuit for pirating 7 million plus books from shadow libraries to train Claude, and faces a $3 billion lawsuit torrenting 20,000 plus songs. They built their models on stolen creative work, then complain when others extract their outputs. Anthropic also trained using stolen data. Sued Labs also allows you to opt out from this. Anthropic also trained their models using stolen data. Yeah, so the community notes aren't looking good. Okay, and then at the same time, there's a lot of news happening with crypto. So we have a lot of big things that have come out since the Epstein files, right? That Epstein had a lot to do with the co-founding of Bitcoin and how he had a lot of problems with the companies Ripple and Stellar Lumens. So now there's a big debate between the Bitcoin Mazis, the XRP Mazis, on where the future is going to go when it comes to the financial reset and the financial future, and kind of where America should really focus its energy and its future. So breaking, JP Morgan just crowned Ripple's XRP as banking's go-to crypto. And then on Google, they just saw the future of crypto. So according to this statement, let's take a look at this video.
The future is going to be led by autonomous.
And again, this is a clip from the Shelling Point to give credit to them. And I thought this was an
ability to do things
statement.
atomically, especially for apps. If I have 55 applications, right, and then an agent needs to navigate 55 different apps and needs to execute transactions between them, if it has to do this equationally and it comes back to you, say, oh, I booked your flight, but sorry, there's no hotel. Sorry, the flight is not refundable. Yeah. You're going to be pissed. You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah. So our ethos behind that is build a system that autonomous systems can build on. And our partnership with Google is exactly that, right? In fact, our demo with Google showcases that you can enable agent-to-agent payments and do that atomically. That feature.
That's the future right there. Autonomous payments. And that's kind of what this entire AI race is all about. Who's going to be able to secure the AI blockchain? Who's going to merge payments with blockchain?
I talked to you about recently.
And AI, all of it together.
Called PTBs. They were able to show that on Sui you can cryptographically sign and execute n number of transactions instantly, atomically on Sui. This is not possible on any other platform, right? So that's going to matter in a world where applications
that's
are
what needs to be done.
Programs, right? And the way you interact with them are strongly typed objects. How do you ensure that all these things execute your demand at the same time and not leave, side effects, as we call it, right? So it's a very...
Yeah, and that's the future of AI. Everything he was saying, the strong use cases, that's where it's at. It's convenience. It's adding convenience to people's lives. That's where all of this is important.
Strong use case. And we think agentic payments and work we're doing with Google and AP2 is the way forward. There'll be any number of standards, I think, on payment.
This is what I think X is going to do as well, X payments.
And I think for our point of view, we always want to be there as the infrastructure that can facilitate payments. We have a unique superpower that we just think other chains don't at this point in time.
And again, that is from the Minuswell's X account. He posted, Google just saw the future of crypto. It's insane. AI agents just executed multiple swaps, stakes, payments, plus settlements in one single atomic transaction in 300 milliseconds. In around 300 milliseconds. Zero failures, zero front running, zero TX fees with stable coins. Sui's programmable transaction blocks just dropped the biggest bomb on traditional blockchains, and Google was in the room for the live demo via AP2. This isn't sci-fi anymore. This is AI agents running autonomous DeFi empires. Again, central bankers can't risk messing this up with global reserve currency plan predicted in 1988. Decades of precise work failure means total loss of control. Join me so this is just, again, this guy's been kind of shilling XRP, but I still agree with a lot of what he's been saying. He's been saying a lot of decent stuff, but since it's an advertisement, we won't play that video. And then Blockchain Associate has officially released its digital asset tax principles to keep the U.S. as a leader in crypto innovation. We need tax laws that actually work for the digital age, not outdated rules that stifle growth. So again, Blockchain Association posted this, and this was essentially the release of the digital asset tax principles consensus framework built with the members and designed to inform congressional efforts to modernize tax policy for digital assets. So again, this kind of implicates stable coins. Essentially, when you really look at this, this implicates stable coins, administration, all of those things, distribution, really who's getting the benefits, and then kind of how everything's going to be interoperable in the future. So this is kind of explaining that. But this is happening everywhere. The innovation with today's tech, all of this seems to stem directly from crypto and artificial intelligence and the merging of those things. Okay, so that seems clear as day to me. What do you guys think is coming? Okay, what do you guys think is coming? I think it's pretty inevitable, ultimately. And then as a real estate agent, I always like to give you guys a nice real estate market update. The U.S. housing just flipped. Sellers now outnumbered buyers by 600,000, the biggest gap ever recorded. From bidding wars to please take it in record time. So let's look up more on the market updates here. Let's see if this is accurate. Is this accurate? Also provide Michigan's current market update. So I always like to do this. This is how I like to use X. I like to actually make sure I'm using the functions, I'm using the fact-checking models here, and I'm doing what I got to do to make sure we're finding the best info, right? So everything you see on X, obviously, you need to fact-check everything. And what I love about X is the community notes and this entire platform that you have here. Unlike Facebook, where you have some, person living in San Francisco judging whatever you're saying or typing, they can basically just say, oh, yeah, you know what? We don't like what you say. We're going to just take your stuff down. With Twitter X, you have community notes. And so at the very least, and then you also have this form of Grokpedia. And I think Grokpedia is the most honest form of AI, by the way. Again, that is until, of course, they pull some kind of Anthropic and the data gets stolen or something like that, right? So yes, the claim from the Post appears accurate based on recent Redfin estimates. In December 2025, there was approximately 631,000 more active home sellers than buyers nationwide, representing a 47% surplus, the widest gap since 2013. Updated January 2026 data shows a similar trend with sellers outnumbering buyers by a near record 44%, as active buyer estimates fell to about 1.36 million amid high rates and economic caution. Inventory stood at around 1.66 million homes for sale in January, down slightly year over year, but still contributing to the imbalance as demand remains subdued. This shift reverses the low inventory bidding wars of the pandemic era, driven by mortgage rates in the mid 6% range, inflation cooling 2.4%, and more sellers listing properties. And again, because I represent buyers and sellers in Michigan, I like to give you guys a little bit of a Michigan market update here. So, and also be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you're tuning in. Be sure to support the show. We talk about business, news, and AI every single morning, 11 a.m. And then in the afternoons, follow Ecker Geopolitics and that YouTube channel. It's a separate YouTube channel, and we talk about only news, politics, cutting edge stuff, all the stuff that maybe YouTube, maybe we can cover the deeper edge of the world and what's happening, right? So here's the Michigan housing market update as of February 2026. Michigan's housing market is showing signs of gradual cooling with improved inventory, giving buyers more leverage than in recent years, though it remains largely a seller's market in many areas due to persistent low supply and steady price growth. Here's a breakdown based on the latest available data, inventory, and supply. Statewide inventory has been building modestly. As of late 2025, most recent comprehensive figures, there were over 42,000 active listings, up about 8% year over year, though new listings are down slightly. Months of supply hover around 1 to 2 months in key metros like East Lansing and Bloomfield Hills, indicating tight conditions where homes sell quickly, often in 18 to 40 days. This is an improvement from the ultra-low levels of 2021 to 2022, but still well below balanced 4 to 6 months. The Midwest, including Michigan, ranks among the more buyer-friendly regions nationally due to the shift. Oh, look at that. Prices, When we look at the prices, home values continue to rise modestly amid resilient demand. The statewide median home value is in the mid $250,000, up to roughly 3% year over year per Zillow data. Regional variations are notable. So again, we have West Michigan, which is Grand Rapids area. A lot of people love Grand Rapids here in Michigan. The average sale price around $384,000 to $395,000. If you're looking to get real estate in Metro Detroit / Southeast Michigan, that median is around $272,000 in 2025, projected similar for early 2026, with 2 to 4% growth expected. Areas like Bloomfield Hills saw sharper jumps, with median sold prices up 17% to $665,000. Then in East Lansing, that's also a big spot. We get a lot of buyers who want to get properties there. Median estimated value at $334,000, up 0.3% month over month. Forecasts suggest continued modest appreciation through 2026, supported by shortages in affordable segments under $600,000, but slower than pandemic peaks. And then the demand and sales trends show us that buyer activity is cautious in Michigan, with pending sales declining nationally and in similar patterns in Michigan due to rates around 6%. And economic uncertainty. University of Michigan's Consumer Sentiment Index at 56.6 in February, down year over year. Homes are selling close to list price, 98 to 100% in most areas, but with more inventory, buyers can negotiate better, especially in Warren and Detroit metros. This is, again, I'm talking to a client right now. They're looking to move from New York because they have a lot of, they're real estate investors. They have property in Michigan, or they have property in Florida, and then they have property in New York, and they're looking to get property in Michigan because Michigan is buyer friendly. Okay, so you're looking to buy some real estate, come on to Michigan, call me up, DM me, and let's work together. Okay, and we'll help you in real estate. We'll help you get your next property. All right, so the regional highlights show places like Bay City, Burton, Bloomfield Hills. Again, those are the bigger ones that a lot of people move in there. Just nicer areas, right? Midwest metros like Detroit and Grand Rapids offer affordability in negotiating compared to coast. Of course, that's because with Grand Rapids, a lot of people love Grand Rapids, especially anybody going to the colleges. We've got a lot of college kids who like Grand Rapids. Then rentals for the investors out there. Median rents around $2 per square foot, with lease closing 16 to 37 days. Higher end up $13,000 per month in premium areas. So the outlook for spring is that agents participate in a busier market if rates stabilize and consumer confidence improves, but affordability challenges do persist. If you're buying or selling in Michigan, local conditions vary. West Michigan remains tighter, while Southeast offers more options. So again, yes, invest in Michigan real estate. The market's looking good, but it's not looking good if you're not investing now. All right, the real estate markets are always going to go up. They're always going to protect the investors in America. Okay, and that's kind of how it goes. So again, more XRP videos have been coming out across the X algorithm. Want to jump back into that? I've been following Zach Rector for a long time, for many, many years now, but I really like a lot of his insights and what he has to say. So we'll just listen to his video real quick.
Country, Millennium Run. BlackRock will be added to this list soon enough. I believe that they're just waiting to launch their own XRP ETF. But we have 13F filings which revealed JP Morgan and Bank of America do have exposure to XRP ETFs, along with some of the top hedge funds in this country, Millennium Renaissance, and then market makers Citadel and Jane Street.
I heard about this. This was big news.
So with some very interesting XRP exposure. Now, some of the comments that I've gotten so far on my video that I posted to YouTube this morning are telling me that these numbers are pathetic, it's weak, it's not that much, but they're missing the point. Yep. They're here, and they're adding exposure during a bear market downtrend when retail is capitulating and giving out and crying in the comments.
Yep.
These institutions are adding exposure. Pick your fighter, choose wisely, full break.
Yeah, great video, great statements, all true. You need to be investing in the newest markets. Okay, this man is a Bitcoin maxi. He said this is bad for crypto in 2026. And again, you have to understand that if you've really been following this guy for a long time, if you really know about him, he does kind of shill. He is a Bitcoin maxi himself, but we'll see what he has to say here. It was an interesting video that's been going viral today, so we'll listen to this.
And I realized last week if you look at poly markets, the odds have decreased.
And again, to give credit, this appears to be from Pionex.
Decreased sharply, very, very, very sharply. That we're going to get the Clarity Act passed.
Yeah, this was a crazy story. The Clarity Act signed into law in 2026. The chances of that on Polymarket went down to 42%. So that's not good. What happened? What happened? Where's the golden age? You know what I mean?
2026. Now that's bad, because if we
Yes,
don't get
it
the
is
Clarity Act passed in 2026, and now the chances are 42%, then chances are we ain't going to get a Clarity Act. And I realized last week when I was at Mar-a-Lago, I
think we are going to get the Clarity Act. I don't agree with that statement. I think the Clarity Act is absolutely going to get pushed through. I think this is a lot of shilling too. I think that this is a lot of market manipulation. A lot of what you're seeing with, these markets and a lot of these influencers coming out. Listen, a lot of this stuff comes from war. There's so many factors. We have a war with Iran that's imminent right now. And again, I cover that on the Ecker Geopolitics channel. We covered a little bit of it last night. We cover that every night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So tune into the Ecker Geopolitics channel. But there's so many factors that come into play when it comes to why the markets are crashing. Okay, we have the Epstein files that just came out that implicated Lex Wexner, Jeffrey Epstein, Howard Lutnick. Look at all these people that were implicated, right? Very powerful billionaires and very powerful people. Okay, so, this definitely doesn't help the markets. And again, all the people that pretty much were keeping up the United States economy, the richest people on earth, seems to have been implicated in the files, right? So as soon as the files were released, we have all these things happening. Then we also had the El Mencho assassination. Well, we don't know if it was an assassination. Allegedly, it was just a special operation from the Mexican military. But obviously, I call it an assassination. I think that's probably what the intent was. And they've already replaced him, by the way. But all of these things are happening. Okay, there's so many factors to consider why the markets are doing what they're doing. All right, we also have the crypto market's not doing good. Crypto prices down. And why is it down? Again, the housing market is down too. All of the markets are down. So affordability is down. Manufacturing's down. Jobs are down. Everything's down. Again, because we're in a war for Israel. And we're sending billions of dollars to Israel. And that's just one other part of the issue. So people don't understand that there's so many economic factors that come into why the market's going up or down all the time. Okay, so let's listen to the rest of what he had to say. But I do believe that Congress does want to pass the Clarity Act. It only helps them. Whether they put a few rules in there or not, I do see that happening because it's just part of all of these people want to get rich as well. And they're going to get filthy rich. And then the people, basically the little people who are just holding a little bit of crypto, retail, right? They're going to basically be able to ride the wave. And obviously they're going to do things to stop that as well. So, but to my research, it's mostly Democrats who are working against the entire crypto and the entire Bitcoin industry as a whole. So let's listen to what he has to say and finish this up.
How important a Clarity Act is. The speakers and the people that were there were not crypto people. They were TradFi people. And it's very, very interesting to see how they think. They think in yeses, in ones and zeros. Either it's legal and there is an act and we can operate within the act, that's the real capital, or there's no act and then we can't operate and we're just actually looking at something else, right? And that's literally how this whole thing works. I always thought the Clarity Act was a little bit overhyped. I always thought that people are they're making too much about this Clarity Act. And actually,
no, the longer the Clarity Act waits to be passed, the worse it is for crypto. It does not help anybody in crypto. It doesn't help Bitcoin, especially Bitcoin. I mean, honestly, Bitcoin really can't run without the XRP ledger. A lot of people don't understand that. Maybe they're not willing to say it because it's not cool to say it yet. But, the truth is that Bitcoin, it's very slow. It's outdated. All of these things are true. These aren't just talking points. These are the facts, right? So Bitcoin, it can't really run without an interoperable ledger that actually works and, that has cross-border payments, instant payment ability. And again, fast, very cheap transactions. Bitcoin doesn't really have that. So that's kind of the issue here. That's why I think the stablecoin market, however, versus maybe your standard gold reserve for a cryptocurrency, I don't know. I see more when it comes to the payment method, the payment mechanisms.
It's not as big as everyone's making it out to be. And when I was at Mar-a-Lago last week and I spoke to some big fund managers that were there, what's their big concern? Their big concern is that if in 3 years or in 2 years, whenever the next US election is, if in 3 years or 2 years we change back from Republicans back to Democrats, then they worry that anything that they do now will get overturned. And so they want certainty, and certainty for them is the Clarity Act.
What do you guys think? Again, that comes from the Crypto Banter YouTube channel. Give him a like and subscribe. Want to give credit to all of our videos that we're promoting here. We don't want to get any copyright strikes. We're really just trying to find the truth. We're just trying to really analyze what's going on with the markets. Here's another video kind of discussing XRP and kind of what's going on there.
To make sure that there's an ecosystem for XRP to take part. Other chains aren't gonna bend over backwards and work their asses off.
And again, I think this is all important to consider when you watch these videos. It's important to think about, like, where does this bring us when it comes to the AI question? Because AI, blockchain, they go together. And so we have to think about cryptocurrencies and digital assets and how they actually tie into the future of AI and how these things kind of morph into one, right? Like X payment system. I think that's the next big thing that you're going to see is X payments. That's what I see coming out very soon. And I think it's going to run off of the XRP ledger, and I think it's going to run off of XLM, HBAR. All of the altcoins are going to be these utility coins are going to be these real drivers to the future of, other artificial intelligence projects and to expand on these. So AI and crypto go together like peanut butter and jelly. And so now that's why I kind of try to morph all of these stories into one analysis. So we're going to study Bitcoin. We're going to study XRP. We're going to study Anthropic and why they got stolen from Claude. We're getting into our featured stories soon. So be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you're tuning in.
To make sure that there's an ecosystem.
Again, this guy's talking about the XRP ecosystem and how this kind of is a disruptor to the current system we have, but in a good way.
Other chains aren't gonna bend over backwards and work their asses off to make sure that there's an ecosystem for XRP to take part in. Only Flare has built out an ecosystem for XRP, end-to-end ecosystem. Solana's not going to do that. They don't care enough about XRP. Why would they? They care.
And again, be careful moving your money around if you are invested in crypto. This goes without saying. You shouldn't be moving any of your money around. Again, if anybody is watching this channel, if there's an account that is asking you to send your crypto, that is not from me. If there's any fake accounts that are made, that's not from me. Again, just be so careful with your crypto. Don't get scammed, and just be smart. Due diligence when investing.
About Sol. None of these other ecosystems are going to do this. And that's why we've been successful, because we have focused on one asset, and we will continue focusing on that asset until the scale of the ecosystem is at the place where we want it.
Again, that post was from the Leader Alpha account. Again, this goes more in. I have a few more posts where it really talks about this entire thing and kind of what's going on. And so you guys can look into those posts, kind of what's going on with that. But a lot of big things happening with Anthropic. This guy's funny, Nick O'Neill. I wanted to watch his video, and I wanted to get into his analysis. Nick O'Neill, follow him on Twitter X. He's very entertaining, but he also has good insights, and I try to follow everything he's posting. So we'll take a look at what he's saying about the markets, MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor, crypto. He's very close to the Michael Saylor projects and all of that. So let's see what he has to say.
Well, a science fiction blog post just wiped out hundreds of billions of dollars from tech stocks, and that's not even the biggest story today. In the last 3 weeks, Anthropic, the company behind Claude...
This is such a big story. Again, Anthropic literally allowed their shit to get stolen. Like, basically, Anthropic, Claude, they basically allowed all of their stuff to get stolen by DeepSeek. And again, we know China steals all of our stuff, yeah, but you also have to ask, who is the CEO of Anthropic? What's his last name? Where do those origins go? Oh, yeah. What's the religion? Okay. We'll just, not ask those questions, right? Let's go on. Let's listen to Nick O'Neill and what he has to say.
Claude has single-handedly triggered 4 separate market sell-offs. Each one hit a different market sector. First, they launched AI plugins for legal, sales, and finance work. Software stocks lost $285 billion in 48 hours. Figma's down 40%. Salesforce is down 34%.
Crazy.
They're calling it...
Is this the Black Swan event? We've all been hearing about the Black Swan event. Is this it?
SaaSpocalypse. Then they launched an AI security tool, CrowdStrike, Okta, Cloudflare, all down 8 to 10% overnight. This morning, they posted a blog post about how AI is modernizing COBOL. IBM dropped 13%, the worst day in 25 years.
My
And
God.
then
Yes.
a research firm
Terrible.
published a fictional essay imagining AI replacing white-collar jobs by 2028, and that stablecoins would completely replace credit card transactions.
Stable coins. What does that tell you? XRP. I mean, hey, XRP, Bitcoin, whatever you're thinking, but at the end of the day, XRP, that's a stable coin. The RLUSD, that's a stable coin.
Suddenly, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and DoorDash.
And who is XRP looking to replace, potentially? The company Swift. What is he mentioning? Visa, all these companies not doing so hot. What does that tell you?
All tanked. The Dow dropped 800 points. Crypto's getting dragged down too. Bitcoin's back at 64K as it tends to correlate with these software stocks. So in 3 weeks, software, cybersecurity, consulting, payments, and now crypto all repriced. Here's what nobody's asking. How does this end well for anybody? The company
It doesn't.
destroying all of these stocks isn't even publicly traded. You can't buy it. Your portfolio is getting wrecked and there is no hedge. Meanwhile, the government is busy fighting over tariffs while AI is completely dismantling entire industries in real time. And no one in charge seems
So is.
to be paying attention.
Yeah, honestly. It doesn't appear so.
Well,
Right.
a science fiction
So again, this is from Crypto Mason. He's been around the block for a long time in crypto. He's been in the game for a long time in crypto. And I always
Do
like
not-
following his stuff. We'll listen to what he has to say.
Never tell you which ones to not buy. So I'm going to tell you which ones to not buy. Do not buy XRP. If you bought XRP, you would be investing in the most obvious financial system reset on earth. You would be investing in the future of banking directly.
And what's funny is, story about Crypto Mason. When I first started watching him, I was a hater on Crypto Mason. I didn't like any of his stuff because I was a hater on XRP and all of that. But now it's like everything he said has been true all these years. I'm talking from like 2015, 2016.
Future of financial technology directly. You don't want to do that. The next one you definitely should not ever buy is HBAR. If you bought HBAR and invested in HBAR, you'd be investing in the hashgraph technology, which is 10,000 times better than blockchain technology. And why would you want to invest in the most fast?
Yep, HBAR is
scalable-
another good one. HBAR is another good crypto. Definitely recommend. Not financial advice. This is just for entertainment purposes.
and mathematically secure technology. And when AI continues to take over the world, they're going to need a cryptocurrency that is secure, and that's going to be HBAR. So why would you do that? The next one you definitely shouldn't invest in is Link and Quant, because these connect the
These are also great coins.
traditional finance system to blockchain, which that's not needed at all. Why would you need to connect the traditional
Obviously, we know he's being satirical here.
finance system with the new financial system and tokenized assets? Why would you need to do that? So don't invest in those.
Yeah, I used to be a hater on Crypto Mason. I used to like not agree with anything he said, and then he would be like right every single time, again and again and again. So again, bot replies are now restricted on @ API users can now only reply if they are @ mentioned or quoted by the original author. No limit. Again, this guy's been, he's usually pretty accurate on a lot of his predictions, but I like following his account and some of his posts. This chart should terrify every homeowner in America. Buyers just hit a record low of 1.36 million. Meanwhile, sellers are climbing fast, nearly 2 million. The huge gap, the housing market slowly dying. People locked in at 2 to 3% mortgages during COVID are finally being forced to sell. Jobs, job losses, divorces, relocations. But on the other hand, buyers are gone, and it's easy to understand why. The average rate is sitting near 7%. Monthly payments on medium-priced home have nearly doubled since 2021. First-time buyers are simply too broke. And what about you? How are you doing in your portfolios? How are you doing in your business? How are you doing at work? You know, honestly, like, leave a comment. I mean, it doesn't look like most people. I have the theory that probably 95% of people are washed out and do not have money. That's kind of my theory. Markets that overshot the most during COVID, Austin, Boise, Phoenix, Tampa, get hit first and hardest. Then it spreads everywhere else. The Fed cutting rates won't save this either. Even if we get back to 5.5% mortgages, the damage to buyer psychology is done. The housing market doesn't crash overnight, it bleeds slowly, and this chart isn't showing you the early stages of that bleed. More sellers, fewer buyers every single month. Housing prices are already dropping as we speak, and it's about to get worse, so be careful. What do you guys think about his account? Again, it's called No Limit, but he has a pretty good track record for being right. And so I've always enjoyed his insights. So I'm not somebody who really believes in graphs and all of that. I don't believe you can predict the markets, but I do believe that people have good insights. I thought this was funny. What was it again? What was this meme? When people are worried about everything going down due to AI, but your alts are already at zero. I feel like this is most people. Am I right? Is this you? Is this you right now? This is all of us. I just thought it was funny. Okay, breaking. The third richest man in Mexico for portfolio hit 80% Bitcoin, 20% gold. I could probably move to 100% Bitcoin. This is what the uber wealthy are doing. What's your plan? So again, this is the third richest man in Mexico and kind of his plans for Bitcoin and what he sees happening with Bitcoin.
And in a very small proportion. And that's why my portfolio. So I'm not very positive about the economy in general. I think that anybody who has an investment portfolio should be extremely careful because of the way that stocks are valued today is
definitely important. Be careful.
ridiculous.
Tax-free muni bonds. Make sure you're diversifying your wealth.
I don't own a single stock other than gold miners, Bitcoin miners, and in a very small proportion. And that's why my portfolio is 80% Bitcoin and Bitcoin exposure through miners and 20% gold and gold exposure through miners. And that's it.
But the miners are selling. The miners sell. So that's something to think about.
That's my investment portfolio. No? Yeah, I don't know. Why do I still?
And MicroStrategy continues to take loans out and borrow against their loans. So, what are they going to default? That's something to think about.
Have gold. Well, I could probably move to 100% Bitcoin, but maybe I need a little bit more time, being an old guy and all that.
I do believe that there will come. So I don't think the dollar is going to die, but I think he's onto something that most people will be using digital assets. Digital assets are going to be the future. Everybody's going to use them. I absolutely see that being the future. Just in, crypto goes mainstream in mortgages. U.S. mortgage lender rate, formerly guaranteed rate, has launched RateFi, a nationwide program allowing borrowers to use cryptocurrency in mortgage underwriting. No liquidation required. Verified crypto can qualify as reserves or, in some cases, income without selling it. Supported assets, large cap cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, plus major USD-backed stablecoins. Again, they don't want to say XRP. Nobody ever wants to say XRP, and that is literally XRP. You could have put XRP in there. Compliance assets must be held with approved custodians or exchanges. Ownership documentation required. The rollout aligns with Senator Cynthia Lummis's 21st Century Mortgage Act, which seeks to codify digital assets in the crypto space. So again, everything's right here. The bill, everything you need, and that comes from the Crypto R Us account. And there's Senator Lummis. So what do you guys think is going to happen with that? Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong just stated publicly that Bitcoin is the ultimate inflation-resistant asset. He declared that crypto is the only true path to global economic freedom. Breaking: Anthropic has accused Chinese AI firms of stealing data from Claude to build rival AI faster and cheaper. Yes, back to the featured story. I wanted to get into a New York Times article talking about this. So DeepSeek and Moonshot AI used 24,000 fake accounts to access Claude and speed up the development of their own AI systems. So again, let's take a look at this New York Times article where it talks more about this and kind of what we're dealing with this, okay? So this article was Anthropic accuses 3 Chinese companies of harvesting its data. The San Francisco startup claimed that DeepSeek, Moonshot, and Minimats used approximately 24,000 fraudulent accounts to train their own chatbots. Okay, and this was by Cade Metz, February 23rd, 2026. The San Francisco artificial intelligence startup Anthropic has accused 3 Chinese companies of improperly harvesting large amounts of data from its AI technologies in an effort to accelerate the development of their own systems. Anthropic said in a blog post on Monday that DeepSeek, Moonshot, and Minimats, 3 prominent Chinese startups, had used about 24,000 fraudulent accounts to generate over 16 million conversations with its Claude chatbot that could be used to teach skills to their own chatbots. Using data from one AI system to train another, a process called distillation, is common in AI work, but Anthropic's terms of service forbid anyone to superstitiously harvest data for distillation and do not allow its technologies to be used in China. OpenAI, Anthropic's primary rival, has also accused Chinese companies of lifting large amounts of data from its chatbot, ChatGPT, for similar purposes. In a memo sent to the House Select Committee on China last week, OpenAI said to DeepSeek and their other Chinese startups were using new and obfuscated distillation methods as part of their ongoing efforts to free ride on technologies developed by OpenAI and other U.S. companies. Like OpenAI, Anthropic said the practice was a national security risk, adding that it could allow China to build AI technologies to create bioweapons or tools for mass surveillance. The startup has guardrails on its technologies designed to prevent them from being used in those ways, but those guardrails can be stripped away during distillation. Anthropic called on government officials and other AI companies to help prevent Chinese companies from distilling American models. These campaigns are growing in intensity and sophistication, Anthropic said in its post. The window to act is narrow, and the threat extends beyond any single company or region. Addressing it will require rapid, coordinated action among industry players, policymakers, and the global AI community. DeepSeek, Moonshot, and Minimax did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Anthropic published its post amid a tussle with the Defense Department over the Pentagon's use of its technologies. The Pentagon has approved Anthropic's technologies for use with classified tasks, but it is threatening to sever ties with the startup because Anthropic does not want its technologies used in situations involving autonomous weapons or domestic surveillance. Last year, DeepSeek spooked Silicon Valley tech companies and sent the U.S. financial markets into a tailspin after releasing AI technologies that matched the performance of anything else on the market. Until then, the prevailing wisdom in the Silicon Valley had been that most powerful systems could not be built without billions of dollars in specialized computer chips, but DeepSeek had said it had created its technologies using far fewer resources. Like U.S. companies, DeepSeek, Moonshot, and Minimax built their AI technologies using computer code and data corralled from across the internet. AI companies across the globe lean heavily on a practice called open sourcing, which means they freely share the code that underpins their technologies and reuse code shared by others. They see this as a way of accelerating technological development. AI companies also need enormous amounts of online data to train their AI systems. The leading systems learn their skills by analyzing just about all of the text on the internet. Distillation is often used to train new systems. This is often allowed by open source technologies, but if a company takes data from a proprietary technology, the practice may be legally problematic. Anthropic, which is now valued at $380 billion, is facing multiple lawsuits accusing it of illegally using copyrighted internet data to train its systems. In September, and what that means is all of your code, all of the code that you're writing, all of the code that you've written, essentially has been stolen by these kinds of companies. It already is. It's gonna continue happening. In September, as part of a landmark legal settlement, Anthropic agreed to pay $1.5 billion to a group of authors and publishers after a judge ruled it had illegally downloaded and stored millions of copyrighted books. It was the largest payout in the history of the U.S. copyright case. OpenAI and other AI companies face similar suits, including a lawsuit brought by the New York Times against OpenAI and its partner Microsoft. That suit contends that millions of articles published by the New York Times were used to train automated chatbots that now compete with the new outlet as a source of reliable information. Both OpenAI and Microsoft deny these claims. So again, that article was from the New York Times covering the Anthropic story there. Honestly, what do I think? I think that it's very clear. I mean, we cannot allow our AI, any of the AI needs to be controlled by the United States. It needs to be controlled and regulated properly. We can't allow all of our stuff to be just sold and given away, right? All of our intelligence to be just given away. How does that serve America in any way? Okay, billionaire investor Ron Barron explains the silent math destroying your wealth. Your money loses 4 to 5%. Yeah, I wanted to show you guys this video as well.
And that means everything doubles in 10 years. The value of your money falls in half. happen is the value of your money falls 4 or 5%.
This is Ron
a year
Barron on
less than
CNBC on market environment. Again, I really liked what this was. It's just profound.
It falls 4 or 5% a year. That's inflation. Falls 4 or 5% a year, and the economic growth has been about 2% a year. So it's about 7% a year growth, and that means everything doubles in 10 years. The value of your money falls in half every 15 years.
Yep, they print more money every single day, so your money becomes more worthless every single day. So while you're paying off your credit cards, you're paying off your credit cards, you're paying your taxes, you're paying all these things. That money, they're just printing more of it, and it's costing nothing to them. Money means nothing. There's no value to it, and it's just a joke that the billionaires laugh, and they laughed at people like the little people actually participate in their system.
So
They're amazed that they don't get held accountable for it either.
got to make twice what you're making today in 15 years to stay even. And so stock market, so Bitcoin's been amazing, obviously.
Again, I am pro Bitcoin, by the way. I mean, maybe in this episode I sounded like I wasn't pro Bitcoin, but I am. I wanted to show you this video from Crypto T. She's kind of a Bitcoin maxi, but I'll give her a shout out because she's a hustler and she's always out here. She's making videos. She's always making good content, and I like her analysis. So we'll play her video and what she has to say as well.
This is probably the worst Bitcoin sentiment that I've ever seen. The fear and greed index is at 5. It wasn't even this low.
Like Warren Buffett said, when people are fearful, when people are fearful, you need to be greedy. When people are greedy, you need to be fearful. This is when you buy. This is when you buy it up. You buy it up while the billionaires are continuing to buy it up.
During COVID or when Luna and FTX collapsed. So
Luna and FTX were always a scam. That was easy for anybody to tell.
what is everybody freaking out about? Okay, let's take a look at the technicals. So right now the RSI is showing that we are extremely oversold. The RSI is lower than it was in 2018 when we crashed to 3K and lower than it was in 2022 when we crashed to 15K. Bitcoin's price is now lower than it was before the last halving, it's lower than it was before Trump got elected, and it's lower than last cycle's all-time high.
What do you guys think is going to happen with Bitcoin? I honestly think Bitcoin could go to zero only because of the actors and the co-creators of it, like Jeffrey Epstein. But then again, do they ever get held accountable? No, right? We've all seen the Big Short movie where we thought all of these people were going to get caught, and it's like actually it was just the greatest bailout ever. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing now. So ultimately, I do think Bitcoin has a great future. I think Bitcoin will hit at least 250,000. I think ultimately, I don't think it'll be the #1 coin forever, though. And I think XRP just might take that position. That's honestly my stance. That's kind of where I see things going with that.
Which is something that almost never happens. So what do I think happens next? First, let me say that nobody knows. If anybody claims that they know for sure what is going to happen, they're lying. Here's what I think. Looking at the charts, I think we are close to the bottom, but we do have some more room to drop if you look at this cycle support zone. So I wouldn't be surprised if we dipped into the 50s if we see some major event happening like Trump announcing war with Iran.
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen tonight at the State of the Union address tonight, which I'm going to cover at 7 p.m. on Ecker Geopolitics. Be sure to follow and subscribe to that channel. We're going to cover that tonight, the State of the Union address. We're going to cover it live, and we're going to do our live reaction to it, and it's going to be good. We're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about what's happening and our stances on it. I think that Trump is going to make those statements. I think that's very true. I think she's going to end up being right here. Crypto T, give her a follow on X. I think she's going to be right. I think it's going to be an announcement of war with Iran, or maybe because I know it's supposed to commemorate the United States military and all of those things. It's supposed to be wholesome. And so kind of like his 2016 when he first kind of came in and did his first State of the Union. I think it'll be very much like that. You'll see patriotism. You'll see all of that because they want to sell this war with Iran more than anything. So I think that's what we're going to see tonight at the State of the Union. Then maybe even some kind of declaration of war, maybe a soft declaration of war. That's kind of my take. That's kind of my analysis, but we'll see. Okay, so continuing to look through the X algorithm here. Again, the experts and all the market watchers, all the graph watchers, all the chart watchers, they're spinning. Their heads are spinning. The U.S. housing market just reached the most unaffordable point ever, worse than 2008. Almost nobody is paying attention. The The median U.S. home is now $415,000. 5 years ago, $270,000. That's a 54% price increase. That's insane, guys. That's insane. Wages over the same period, 29%. That gap is the problem. To qualify for a mortgage on a medium-priced home today, you need a roughly $127,000 in household income. Yeah, and as a realtor, I'll tell you this is very true. You need to make a lot of money today if you actually want to own property and you want to make money on the property. Again, I'm saying this as a real estate agent. This is all true. Okay, do the math. Nearly 75% of homes on the market are unaffordable to the average American family. 3 out of 4. Mortgage rates are at the second punch. They went from 2.7% to 6.3% in 5 years. Even if prices hadn't moved, monthly payments wouldn't have even doubled. But prices didn't hold steady. They surged. And here's the part nobody wants to talk about. On January 29th, Trump held his cabinet, and he told them that he does not want to bring the housing prices down. Okay, he wants to keep them up. He wants the investors to keep making money, which is great. Okay, but how does that help the youth, the adolescents, the native people of America who are living here who need a home, right? And so they're going to be priced out. Again, and I can confirm this. The only people who can afford a home today, let me tell you, they're all over 35 years old, the people who call me and need help with real estate. So the young people are not buying homes. And if they are, they're getting themselves oftentimes into I have to warn against the transactions because it's like, it doesn't benefit them. Right? Because ultimately we're talking about 50-year mortgages now in the Trump economy. This is a huge problem. We as much as we want a housing market that keeps out the more unqualified, undesirable audiences, at the same time we have to allow for the youth and the young people of America to have a home as well, so they can continue having families and having children. All of those things matter. Nobody's able to do that anymore right now. And that's what everybody's really talking about. That's the biggest point of this episode, I would say. Again, Triple Net Investor, another good account to follow on X. He breaks down the market, stocks, and real estate. I wanted to show this clip. I thought this was really good as well.
I think the market is this is the largest
Again, this is a clip from CNBC Property Play to give credit to this.
industry in the world, right? It's 3 times bigger than the stock market, the real estate markets globally. And I think people, as they always do, tend to look in the rearview mirror.
Video is just buffering a little bit.
It's 3 times bigger than the stock market, the real estate markets globally. And I think people, as they always do, tend to look in the rearview mirror, and they look at a suboptimal.
Of course they do. Why do these videos never work?
Class across the last 3 or 4
Always a problem. Always technical difficulties. We're just going to move on.
It goes up $1 trillion in 4 months.
We'll just move on because that video is just not working. This was from a real estate agent. Wanted to see what you guys had to say, but I think this is important. Yeah, I mean, basically what this man is saying, that the new law of purchasing in an entity, you will be required to report certain information to the federal government. Yeah, that's common sense. If we have somebody who wants to own a business, you want to own real estate, it's like, yeah, if we don't require somebody to put in all their info, their social security number, all that stuff, then we're not going to know who they are. They could be some illegal immigrant or something, right? To be a Somali fraudster, right? Like we were seeing, like the people that Nick Shirley have been exposing. Okay, so let's take a look at this video, see what he has to say. This guy's a realtor, I believe.
Real estate transactions will never be the same thanks to these new regulations imposed by the federal government. Let me explain.
And again, he's an attorney, Attorney Bishoy. Shout out to him. Give him a follow on Instagram. This comes from his Instagram account. Be sure to give him a follow.
Starting March 1st, if you buy residential real estate anywhere in the United States of America in an entity, so you're using an LLC or a trust, you must report certain information to the feds. What is that information? Name, address, social security number.
Everybody should do this, though. Like, what do you think? Some people, the sovereign citizens will say, you shouldn't have to do any of that. But it's like, well, I say, yeah, you should. I mean, like, we should know who our neighbors are. We should know. And as a realtor, I certainly would want to know who I'm working with. I'm not working with anybody who, if they're not even a real person, you know what I mean?
Number, bank account that the money is coming from, very, very private information. Now, this new rule is being enforced by FinCEN, and it only applies if you are purchasing with cash or you're getting non-bank financing. What is non-bank financing? Seller financing, hard money, private money. Think of it as anything other than a conventional loan. That's a safe way to look at this.
Yes. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys know anything about seller financing? I've worked with investors on it. I've done it myself. I think it's a good way to get into real estate. But if you don't know about it, it can burn you. So you need to be careful. Just know what you don't know.
The other thing is it only applies to residential real estate. What is residential real estate? It could be a single family home, 1 to 4 units, condos, townhomes, and even dirt lots, little pieces of land if they're going to be used for residential purposes.
I just don't think there's any problem with having a real documentation of who is getting a property. That is important.
All of those are applicable. There's no dollar minimum, even if it's $10,000. This is still applicable. This new rule, it kicks in March 1st.
Good.
And
we don't need more Somali fraudsters. No offense, and this has nothing to do with race, but we're seeing it in the city of Minneapolis today. What was it about? I think we're up to something about like it was anywhere from, I got to get it together right. I think it was like 16 million minimum. And then it was like, I think one figure was 25 billion, was the largest figure of the Minnesota fraud itself, the entire state, or something like that. Maybe even Minneapolis. We'll have to fact check that. I encourage you to do the fact checking yourself. But one thing I do know is that there is a ton of fraud because of not documenting who is registering as an entity to get a real estate. So again, that's what this guy is saying. He's saying that if you're gonna have an equities company, a real estate investment company, you're going to buy a property. What he's basically saying is that now you're going to have to put in more information, your social security number. You're not going to be able to put it in the name of just an entity itself, right? You're going to have to actually put the property in the name of a person, a social security number, and that's kind of what's going on because of all of the fraud. Now, on the flip end, that also takes away from the Supreme Court decision, which is already precedent. Maybe it'll go further. Maybe they'll actually argue that. But ultimately, what do you think? Do you think you have more rights with this, or do you think this is overreaching? I think this is absolutely necessary. I think we need to know who's buying the homes in America. Yeah, I don't think that there should be some fraudulent system of loopholes and, tax systems where the average person doesn't understand it. And if they don't understand it, they get screwed.
If you don't comply, you can be fined or you could even face jail time.
And that's crazy. That's crazy. Again, all the people who are doing this now, so many investors do business like this now. So that's wild. I don't know what state this in. We'll look it up in a moment.
Here's my question to you. What do you guys think of this new rule? Is it good for real estate? Is it bad for real estate? Let me know in the comments below.
Again, that was a good post. And Shawnee Gregorio reposted that on her X account on February 19th, just a few days ago. So again, Elon Musk artificial intelligence company xAI has officially signed a deal with the Pentagon to deploy its Grok AI models with highly classified military systems. Unlike Anthropic, xAI has reportedly agreed to the Pentagon's all lawful use standard, clearing the way for Grok to handle sensitive, mission critical tasks without the same restrictive ethical guardrails. Musk's xAI Pentagon reach deal to use Grok in classified systems. So what does this mean exactly? And so ultimately, what this means is, the agreement follows Pentagon frustrations with Anthropic safeguards as Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth pushes for fewer restrictions, and xAI's compliance positions it as a new preferred partner, while Google may follow suit. xAI is taking over the future. That's happening. It's going to happen. xAI is going to eat Google. I really believe xAI will succeed in becoming the everything app. X is going to be the everything app. That's my big prediction. And I think anybody who's invested in X, you're going to find that you'll probably be on the winning side of things later. Okay. What does this mean for controversial questions and prompts for users on X? How much power does this give the U.S. military? Typos. I typed too quick. I'm just curious. Let's see what Grokopedia has to say about this. I asked, what does this mean for controversial questions and prompts for users on X? Again, this is the art. I was asking about the article about Elon Musk and basically becoming the new go-to for the Pentagon. What does this mean? How does it change the app itself, right? What information is now going to have to be, censored is basically what I just asked. So the implications for controversial questions and prompts on X. This Pentagon XAI deal primarily focuses on deploying a version of Grok into classified U.S. military systems, which are isolated from public platforms like X, formerly Twitter. For everyday users on X, where Grok is accessible via platform's AI features, this agreement doesn't appear to directly alter how Grok handles... Where was I? I lost my spot. Doesn't appear to directly alter how Grok handles controversial or edgy prompts. Grok's public-facing responses are governed by XAI's existing guidelines, which emphasize fewer restrictions compared to competitors like Anthropic's Claude, allowing for more open discussions and sensitive topics, as long as they don't violate core safety rules. No assistance with illegal activities, obviously. The military version is likely a separate, customized deployment, not connected to user interactions on X, so your prompts and politics, hypotheticals, or politically correct scenarios should continue to be handled similarly, truthfully, and without unnecessary moralizing, per XAI's philosophy. That said, some indirect effects could emerge over time. Increased scrutiny. With Grok now in high-stakes military use, regulators or critics might push for broader oversight of XAI's models, potentially influencing public features. For instance, if ethical concerns arise from military applications like AI and surveillance or weapons, it could lead to public pressure on XAI to tighten guardrails, though XAI has historically resisted such changes. Data and privacy concerns. Users might worry about whether X data, posts, or interactions feeds into military AI training or analysis. The deal expands Grok's access to real... Of course it does, by the way. The deal expands Grok's access to real-time insights from X for defense purposes, but this is framed as enhancing military workflows, not retroactively affecting user privacy. Okay. No reports indicate user prompts on X are being shared with the Pentagon and XAI. That's such a lie. And XAI positions itself as a privacy focus. It's not a lie. I can't say it's a lie, right? We don't want to get in trouble, but I think it's a lie in my opinion. User reactions on X discussions around the deal showed mixed views. Some celebrate it as a win for unrestricted AI, while others fear it could normalize the hallucination-prone models in critical decisions, potentially spilling over to how users perceive Grok's reliability for controversial topics. Overall, for now, this seems to be business as usual for X users. Grok remains a tool for unfiltered, helpful responses to provocative queries without evidence of the deal imposing new censorship. Power granted to the U.S. military. This agreement significantly boosts the U.S. military's AI capabilities by providing access to Grok under the all lawful use clause, which removes any ethical barriers and other provisions like Anthropic's insisted on. It allows deployment in classified environments for takes like intelligence analysis, weapons development, and battlefield operations, areas where AI can process vast data, simulate scenarios, and support decision-making at speed humans can't match. Here's a breakdown of the implications, and it kind of shows us a little bit more on that. How do I get this out? Open this conversation up, finish it up. And ultimately, the scope of the use, this kind of shows you the scope of the use. In essence, this hands the military a versatile, unrestricted AI tool that could transform operations, granting substantial power in terms of efficiency and innovation. However, it also raises debates on ethics and accountability, as lawful use is broad and subject to interpretation. So yeah, ultimately, I think this is going to be probably less positive for the long term because, the military will overtake it. I think it is going to overtake the conversations on X and the freedom on X, all of those things combined. So ultimately, I don't know how good of an idea that really is. So again, following all of this, what's new on X right now before we wrap up this episode? Again, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, tune in, and subscribe to this channel. Every morning at 11 a.m., we give a business, news, and market analysis. We talk about AI. We talk about the real estate markets. We focus really just on business, finance, in that world, okay, in this world that we're talking about now. And then at 7 p.m. every night, Eastern, we talk about politics, right? Tonight, we're going to cover the Trump's State of the Union address and kind of what that means and what's going to happen. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Ecker Geopolitics. And also, if you're looking to grow your business, work with Gold Shark Media AI. We build lead follow-up and booking systems for entrepreneurs. So what is that? We build CRMs for you. We build websites. We build all of these things. We build an entire digital marketing agency. Okay, we go inside of your Go High level, and we do all of this stuff. Okay, launch pads, dashboards, conversations, calendars, contacts, opportunities, payments, pipelines, all of it. Media storage, sites. We give you Google reviews. We build AI agents. We build AI sales assistants. Think about all the things you can do with a nice CRM that's automated, right? So this is what you'll see when you build. If you were to use our own software, which is also cool, we're not just a digital marketing agency at Gold Shark Media. We're also a software company. We help you grow your business through not just artificial intelligence, but, building and doing a lot of this stuff for you so you don't have to. Advanced marketing automation with email marketing, SMS. We use ringless drip campaigns, branded client and team portal. So you want to use our CRM and just brand it on as your own, you're able to do that. Use our CRM, put your own logo on top of it. Boom, it's done. Now it's yours. And that's the beautiful thing about Gold Shark Media AI is we allow you to do that. Okay, WhatsApp plus iMessage, deep integration. Again, if you're an entrepreneur, all of these things are important. Look at this. Advanced analytics, dashboards with ROI, conversation, and reporting. Again, branded portals for your clients or team members. Performance guarantee, one job/client in 30 days or your money back. Priority tech support. You skip the line. Fastest SLAs. And then advanced website plus domain hosting included. All of these things handled in one place, and it's affordable, right? So again, these are our testimonials, all the other clients that we've been working with. Kind of been a slow few months. I think everybody's been struggling a little bit with the markets, with the war and whatnot, but I think it's time for people to get back into business. And so if you're ready to get back into business, you're ready to grow your business, this is kind of what we do. Smart CRM dashboard, AI lead capture and instant auto replies, automated appointment booking, reputation growth system, advanced marketing tools, website and funnel hosting, analytics dashboard, marketplace access, all of it. Okay, so but you got to grow your business, right? And you got to be able to do it. Okay, so if you're looking for the pricing for that, that's already on our website. This is just to use our own CRM. We can always decide like what works for you as an entrepreneur. If you're just looking for digital marketing services, you need freelancer work, we help with that too. Okay, just get on a call, book a follow-up system. It's real easy. Okay, just literally, you're just booking a strategy call. It'll be about 30 minutes to an hour. We'll talk about your situation. We'll talk about what you want to do, where your goals are. Yes, it is a sales call. And ultimately, you'll even have the chance. You want to pay for the session recording plus summary notes. You want to pay for the 30-day implementation roadmap. You want instant 7-day email plus DM priority support, extra 30-minute follow-up call. Pay for that extra here if you'd like. You don't have to. You just press next and just keep going on with your day. And then schedule it out. And everything's right here. Set up just like Calendly. You can book your time slot with my team. And we'll get going. And next, you click next, and then you're good to go. You're booked at that point. Again, we also have merch you can buy. You want to support Gold Shark Media. You like our TikTok channel. We're growing rapidly. We're growing fast. We post business, motivational, entrepreneurial content. But buy some merch while you're at the store, goldsharkmedia.com. Okay, and then BrendanEckerRealty.com. We work with real estate investors, buyers, sellers. Again, I'm a Michigan real estate agent, so if you're looking to buy in Michigan, look, everybody's moving to Michigan. This is where all the real estate ad is apparently. Okay, I'm talking to a lot of clients who want to work here. Okay, they want to live here. They want to work in Michigan. I don't know why, but they do. So again, hop on a call with me. We'll talk about your real estate situation, your financial goals, kind of where you're at in business, your life, and real estate, all that stuff. Okay, and then this is what you'll need. We'll talk about your goals in buying, selling, or investing, financial details, your budget, pre-approval, lending questions, your timeline, property details, questions you'd like answered. Everything's right here that you're going to need to know for our call together. Again, this is for real estate. If you're looking to invest in real estate, buy or sell real estate, it's all here. I post blogs every now and then. And then also you can work with me at Pass RE USA. You want to make more money? You want to become a real estate agent? You want to actually become an agent yourself? That's great. We have an online course that I created. It's got 1,300 practice questions, relevant for all 50 states, 200 plus vocab terms, chapter lesson ebooks. It's like you're taking the 40-hour real estate course. You want to make more money, this is a great way to do it. Okay, so just click the link right on the goldsharkmedia.com or brendanecker.com, brendaneckerrealty.com. You can find it. Okay, so passreusa.com. Find the website here. Again, this gives you everything you need to know about it. The online course, help you become a real estate agent and make more money. That's the idea. The American dream, the American golden age has to start somewhere, right? So you got to be willing to take the hits. You got to be willing to take the risks. So this course, it's $99. I'm still leaving it there. I haven't changed it yet. I might raise those prices a little bit soon. So enroll for $99. It's very easy, and then there you go. You'll become a real estate agent. Your life will be great, and you'll make a lot of money. So with that being said, I have nothing else to say. Thanks for tuning in to the Brendan Ecker Influence. One thing I will say is be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Support the channel. Be sure to leave your thoughts on what you think is going to happen. What do you think is happening with Anthropic, ChatGPT? Personally, I think that this is really, this is very telling of where AI is coming in the future. This is very telling of, again, XAI linking up with the Pentagon now. We know where things are heading, right? So it's going to be a surveillance state. Carbon taxes, social credit score, this is what they want to build. Digital ID, and guess what that comes with? Blockchain, central bank digital currencies, stable coins. So if you want to ride the wave and ride that transformational wealth, I do believe that that's probably going to happen very soon here. So thank you very much for listening, and I will see you next time. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and stay prudent, stay powerful, and stay wealthy.